On the one time I yelled at Graham. This is the short version, condensed basically. So, here's what happened. When Ted Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger were pulling all that shit at my grandma's funeral, Graham was there. And when the officer showed up, on the video, what happened is I was watching the video. This is after this officer is no longer with that department and is completely out of the state. This officer didn't do his job or fill out a police report or any of that. And Graham was witness to it. Well, when I was watching the video, I noticed that Graham had the words that he used and the things that he told that officer were exactly the wrong things to tell an officer if you want them to listen to me. And I knew that. I was so pissed. I mean, I didn't even make it past that part of the video the first time I watched it because I was so pissed off. I was like, fuck. See, right there is when the officer went from actually being willing to do his job, possibly, because there's people there, and him deciding just to fucking ignore it and be like, I fucking wish I was in bed. I don't want to fucking be dealing with this bullshit. So the next time I saw Graham, I ripped his ass for that. I really did. I already knew fucking exactly why when I saw the very beginning of that video. And when I talked to Officer Scott DaCosta, or Sheriff Scott DaCosta, and he gave me that, you know what he told me? He told me he was giving it to me for free because the officer didn't do his job, but if I wanted more, I was going to have to pay for him. Fine, that's cool. But I went back to talk to Scott DaCosta after watching the very beginning of it, and I asked him, I was like, and I'd already ripped out Graham by this point, because, I'd gone down to see Graham in specific about the incident, and then went back up to Nebraska, and Scott DaCosta, I asked him, I said, did you watch the whole video? He said, no, I didn't, and I said, why not? He said, well, because your friend came out and said that you were bipolar. Bipolar or not, this shit is fucking wrong. What he's basically saying is that if you do something illegal or immoral to somebody who's bipolar, it's fine. But the fact is that that's where Scott DaCosta stopped giving a shit. He stopped listening. Exactly the part where I knew that the other officer had stopped listening over exactly what it is that I thought that he stopped listening over. Graham. Now here's another thing. Autism is not considered a mental illness. When I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, trying to get housing, they told me that I had to be bipolar or something like that autism is not considered a mental illness. So they couldn't help me with housing over that. There's lots of witnesses. Their stories are out here. I recorded them. I recorded Brandon Ratner and Karamia and Aaron Cockerham and Melissa Rainwater and Mandy Hughes. I recorded all of these people and Peaches and I recorded our conversations as soon as I was able to, as soon as I was able to figure out a way to do it. So when I yelled at Graham, it was probably close to 10 seconds of yelling at least. Alright, maybe 10 seconds on the dot, I don't know. It might have been a couple seconds less, actually, because I don't scream for long over something like that, apologized. And when he apologized, that was the end of it, because once you've apologized, it means you're willing to admit it, but apparently not on paper. That's where I needed it the most. When I went back to Scott DaCosta and asked him why he gave me the video if he didn't even watch the whole thing, he's like, and why he didn't watch the whole thing, he's like, well, it's because your friend said you were bipolar. No, he said I was autistic. There's a big difference. But yeah, Sheriff Scott DaCosta did exactly the same thing that Officer Jordan Anderson had done. He blew it off because of what Graham had said. So Graham going out and speaking for me was the wrong thing to do. Do not speak for me. Don't do it. Find out from me first. If you don't know what the hell is going on, you shouldn't be speaking for me. Like that lady last year who wanted to get all sorts of pissed off and fucking play victim because I was pissed off at her for speaking for me. We'd never spoken. She's like, we spoke on that post and we spoke on this. And I'm like, no, that's not speaking. That's you going out of your way to interpret texting because I can't type 400 words per fucking minute on a fucking telephone. The reason that her and Layla Johnson at the same time, I was like, all right, Dan, fucking please help me out here. You know, get a hold of these two for me and let them know that they need to actually call me. Or I'm going to block them because they're speaking for me. I'm at Sally Treon's. They're screaming pretty much nonstop. Kids are getting dragged through the house by meth heads. You know, I had to buy a chair so I'd have a place to sit down, and I don't get to sit in my chair because everybody else is using it. There's a crazy lady there who's pregnant and can't stay off the drugs. Turned out she had a little boy that she killed a year to the day that Natalie died. And then, on top of that, they're watching these shows about killing literally the whole time I'm there. Screaming the whole time I'm there. And these two women are speaking for me, saying that I'm safely in a safe place, and it's not. It is not. I can tell within an hour of going through the door, Sally Treon is telling me that her husband beat her up last week. And I'm on a Facebook ban, so these people speaking for me is doing more harm than good. Because they need to find out what's going on before just assuming and speaking for me. And this is what bugs me so incredibly about them. And I let that woman know I was going to hunt her words, and I meant it. I saved her words. They're on my computer. Her name is Sarah Miller. I'm not going to feel bad for exposing this, because these people should have come forward to the police, to the media. They should have done what it is that the Bollingers were able to do freely because of how I was painted and how they were painted as victims in this. They're victims because Natalie died. Meanwhile, I cared about Natalie too. They got to mourn with friends and family while I'm busy trying to fucking find Natalie and then find her killer. I'm trying to play fucking damage cleanup with all of these people going to war on fucking Facebook in Facebook groups. I asked my friends to stop, to leave the Bollingers alone. Fuck the Bollingers. All of them. They all deserve prison. Now, they could come forward and be honest at any point in time. But just like the police, they have too much to hide. Anyway, I got pictures of all of them. I have their faces. And they're going to be included in my book, so the whole world knows who these predators are. Also, their words. See, that's the thing. I didn't slander Ted Bollinger. I copied and pasted Natalie Bollinger's words and posted them on his timeline. Those were not my words. Those were Natalie Bollinger's.